We believe we're going to have an opportunity for unified government, Tony, and that President Trump wins the White House, we win the Senate and the House for the Republican Party. And when we do that, we want to be positioned well to solve all the great challenges facing the country.
And we begin this week, as we always do, with a highlight from Salem News Channel's This Week on the Hill. Speaker Mike Johnson joined and gave an insight into what the Republican agenda might look like should they grow their majority and win the White House. Take a look.
We believe we're going to have an opportunity for unified government, Tony, and that President Trump wins the White House, we win the Senate and the House for the Republican Party. And when we do that, we want to be positioned well to solve all the great challenges facing the country. We have the answers for those things, and we'll do it in the order that the American people demand and deserve. The polling reflects what we all know is happening around the country. People are deeply concerned about the open border, so we'll secure that as a matter of first priority. And then we'll go to really unleashing the U.S. economy again. How do you do that? Well, you do it with tax cuts and spending cuts and regulatory reform, just like we did in the first couple of years of the first Trump administration. We'll do that again. We'll also unleash American energy, because energy policy is national security policy, and all those things go together. And the current administration, by contrast, has declared war on the oil and gas industry and in our energy sectors. And so we've got to do that again. And of course, we've got to maintain peace through strength and restore American strength. We have to preserve our national security interests, which are in the interest of the whole world. And we're not doing that right now. And that's why you have our adversaries acting so provocatively and all the rest. So we have so many priorities and so many things we need to do. And that's why it's got to be carefully planned for when we do take charge again. We don't put the cart before the horse, but it's a matter of stewardship to plan accordingly. And that's what we're going to do.
Alfredo, almost sounds like the formation of what could be a contract with America. Is it a smart move for Republicans to start giving voters a vision of what they might get should they go their way?
Yeah, Larry, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things I would probably say, though, I would take slight issue with what Speaker Johnson said is the order in which we're going to tackle stuff. The latest polling, at least that I've seen, is that the border is a priority, but it's a second priority. It's the economy, I think, is the number one issue that most Americans are really grappling with, especially due to high inflation. And so I think the number one thing that I would do in day one is to really address the war on domestic energy production that Biden declared on day one of his administration when he canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. And then from there on, all hell, basically broke loose, and the economy just went into shambles from an inflation standpoint. And of course, interest rates going up, which has led to, higher mortgage rates, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would actually try to address the domestic energy production first, then dealing with basically what we do there from unleashing the economy. And third, probably the border. I mean, because the border is an important issue. But again, I think most people really are concerned about right now about the economy. In the words of James Carville, it's the economy, stupid.
Patrice, the energy production, the border security, and trying to get this economy on track. Do you think that's a winning message for Republicans?
Those are obviously the key issues, but left off the table there, you do need to get engaged in the culture, the so-called culture wars. When we look at what's happening with the Title IX, it's time to see those overturned. We're talking about women's spaces, women's sports, women's rights, women's safety, frankly, and opportunity. I wouldn't leave that off the table, because I think you need to balance both the economic policies, which are super important, as well as immigration. But you got to get some of those other issues that are big and splashy, and frankly are very that motivate and fire up the base, and parts of the base that we'll say those other issues are important. But I also want to see some of this culture stuff taken on. It was so interesting seeing Paul Ryan this week, blasting President Trump and saying, "Oh, he's not my candidate," part of the Never Trumper bandwagon. And Paul Ryan in the past has said, "Oh, he's not a culture warrior." And I think a lot of conservatives, Republicans, and MAGA supporters are tired of that establishment mentality. We'll leave culture to somebody else. But very often, culture is the foundation for a lot of these other radical policies and positions. And so why not prove that you care about the future of our children by getting out the radical ideology, particularly that's gender and sex driven? And I think that should be a great message and a great battle to take the left on with.
Well, and Chris DeGaulle, let's bring you in here, because one of those culture issues that has proven to be a winning issue, as we saw in Virginia, is education. And the great work you do with Herzog Foundation is right in that wheelhouse. Would you like to see that on the list?
Oh, thank you for bringing it up. It is something that, yes, my wife and I think is incredibly important. Personally, we took our daughter out of public school, put her in a private Christian school, and we've gone to work on a podcast of our own dedicated to this very subject called Making the Leap. And I hope people will check it out, because this is a show we did exclusively for parents who we feel have not really been told about school choice and options out there. We certainly advocate for Christian education, but whatever it is, homeschool, pods, there's so many options now for kids and parents and school that the public school system is a massively important thing. And it's why we've kind of dedicated our time to the Herzog Foundation and their publication, readlion.com. I hope people, if this is a subject that's interesting to you, those of you that are searching for that kind of help and resources, go to herzogfoundation.com and you'll learn more. But yes, without a doubt, Glenn Youngkin says Trump is playing in Virginia. We know how Glenn Youngkin got there.
That's right. And listen, I think the one thing that can be shown here, Alfredo, is that Republicans need to show that they can walk and chew gum at the same time. Certainly, they're most comfortable with the Main Street issues, if I could borrow part of your organization's slogan behind you. And ultimately, you're probably right in terms of James Carville's philosophy. If you keep coming back to the economy, you're not going to go wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the one comment that Chris made too on the education piece, we definitely are all in on that as well, because I think this is an opportunity for Republicans to actually take on a culture issue that normally in the past they've said we don't want to play, which is education, right?
Right.
I think because of COVID, it's released a perfect opportunity for us to play in that. I think all parents really found out what our public schools are teaching, and I think they want the opportunity to make a choice here. And so one of the initiatives that we launched along with ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and Steve Moore's organization, Unleashing Prosperity, is the 25 by 25, which is basically 25 states by the end of 2025 having education savings accounts, which are so critical to give parents that choice. What we like to say is, my child, my choice. And I believe that can be a winning argument for the 24 election as well.
So, and I'll do a quick follow-up with all three of you here. I presented this first flippantly, saying it sounds a little like a contract for America, where Speaker Johnson is laying out what the Republican agenda is. They've just got a majority of 2 seats right now. Republicans want to grow that. This is a great year to be able to do it. Is it a smart idea? We'll start with you, Alfredo, for them to actually replicate that Gingrich magic and put out a real contract for America? Yeah, the White House is in play. That's important. You give President Trump this majority in the House, and here's what we'll do in the first 100 days. What do you think?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Speaker Gingrich and JCN, we've partnered in the past. We actually, at the end of 22, launched a smaller contract with our small business owners called the American Small Business Prosperity Plan. But that was part, I think, of the broader plan that was put together under, former Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
But I believe we can carry this agenda just the way Speaker Gingrich did back with the contract. I think the opportunity is right.
Patrice?
Yeah, it's interesting because right now the Biden campaign is not putting forward a new agenda or a positive agenda. They're just putting forward, well, this needs to be a continuation of the Biden 4 years and what was done under Biden, which frankly is just Obama 2.0. So this is an opportunity for conservatives to say to the groundswell of new voters who are maybe had never considered Republicans for the first time, didn't understand what Republicans stand for, that yeah, there are actually platform ideas that you probably will agree with. You want your kids to have school choice. You want to see your energy bills drop. You want to, see a different way of moving forward. You want to ensure that, your public school resources are not being utilized to house and take care of illegal aliens or illegal immigrants. And so it is important that you put that vision out there so that, 6 months down the line, 8 months down the line, the media doesn't say, oh, Republicans did a bait and switch on all of those new Trump supporters. No, they knew what they were signing up for.
Chris, Patrice brings up an interesting point there, back to education. Republicans have to realize they're always needing to re-educate new voters and new election cycles to let them know who they are and what they stand for. So would it be a bad idea for them to lay it out in a formal way this way?
100%. And I'm really pleased with Donald Trump's leadership on that front. He's done two things in the last week that just kind of dropped my jaw. And I was trying to remember the last time I heard a Republican since Newt say it. He went out to Las Vegas and said, let's do away with taxing those tips for you service employees. And then he went to Washington yesterday and said to the Republicans, let's tackle doing away with the income tax. Whoa. When was the last time we really heard a Republican leading on things like that? And so that's what you can get excited about. That's what you can encourage your fellow House Republican candidates to get out there and take to market as a message. Yes, as well as school, as well as the border, as well as these gender confusion issues, mutilating children. Martina Navratilova, guys, for heaven's sakes, she's on this Title IX bus tour right now with the Independent Women's Forum. She's about as hardcore left as they come. But on the issue Patrice was just talking about, I think I'm not speaking for her, but it's important enough to her that she feels like maybe she needs to vote for an alternative to Biden. She's that concerned about Title IX.
By the way, Chris, did you hear Jay-Z even is supporting school choice out in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Jay-Z can do it. We can do it.
That's right.
We'll leave it with that great last remark. But I will say this as well. The other good thing about laying out an agenda, as we saw from Speaker Johnson here on This Week on the Hill, not only does it give voters an idea of what they're voting for, it also forces Democrats to explain to their voters why it's not a good idea to do all those things that seem to make pretty good sense.